Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at the 1996-97 and the 1997-98 Bowman's Best basketball sets. So, Topps never bothered to make a Bowman set, at least in the 20th century, for basketball. The reason was very simple. There just wasn't a broad enough market to have a whole bunch of different kinds of packs. Now, baseball was where most people collected cards. Obviously, myself and many of us never did, but most collectors were there, so selling tons of packs was not hard. Football was also a very large and broad market in the 1990s, so while they had more brands, they didn't have as many packs by each brand, and so Bowman had a tough time really setting in there because there were too many other options, whether it was Collector's Edge or Playoff or Pro Line. There was too much going on in football, so Bowman had a rough go through their experience in football. Hockey was pretty tough, more because it was more regional, and so again, it was tough to really get the breadth of the market that you really needed to have Bowman work. Basketball, on the other hand, they had hoops and skybox, which were basketball. Because so few packs were sold, they couldn't justify a set like Bowman, but the high end for basketball was just as avid as anywhere else, so actually Bowman's Best could have a fair shot at making a run at basketball. But they didn't do it right away because the basketball market continued to grow through the 1990s, and even as late as 1994, basketball was still a very small niche corner of the market that really wasn't much bigger than hockey. So where in 1994 Bowman's Best was launched in baseball, 1995 we finally got it in football, it wasn't until 1996 that Bowman's Best made a run at basketball. And by 1996, Bowman's Best was now starting to be approached as a normal set. Well, sort of with basketball. Because they had this weird habit of, in the 94-95 releases, of having a set of veterans and then an equal set of rookies. Two sets that were treated kind of as one, but they were numbered separately. So by 1996, they'd gotten that out of their system, and now they were making a normal card set, which we'll be getting back to in a second. But the card itself was also starting to look a little bit more normal, where even though this card is a finest card, it has a design that is built more like a normal card. It's kind of a hybrid, which is pretty interesting. They have a half bleed top and one side, and then they have a gold band down one side, the other side, with a silver detail on it, and then down at the bottom they have silver with a gold accent on that. That's the design of the card. And every single one of the cards does come with a refractor parallel because of course it does. It's finest. It's Bowman's Best, but it's a finest card, so naturally they have a refractor. But unique to Bowman's Best is that they also did another tier. They did a second parallel, which gives a three-tier system. So they have the base card, they have the refractor, and then they have what they called an atomic refractor. And the atomic refractor uses a whole grid of little boxes that are facets that hit light at a different rate, and so you have this cool speckly quality that's grid-like in the card. It's a really interesting design that they actually had used they were using in Finest, but in Finest 1996-97 they did not have multiple tiers of parallels. Instead they had multiple tiers within the set, and the refractors chosen aligned with the tier or the rarity of that particular insert set, or the particular theme within the set. Here over in Bowman's Best, they actually used it for an additional parallel, so every single card has three versions of the card, and that includes all of the inserts. Now, they did do rookie cards, and the rookie cards have an inverted design theme where they have silver with a gold accent, and down at the bottom it's gold with a silver accent, but you might notice something about the card number. It has an R in front of it. Interestingly, even though this set was actually built like a normal set, they continued to treat the subset as a separate set, so they start again numerically with 1 and they go through. So that means that they're numbered like an insert set. They're just the same as the regular set, and they are considered part of the actual set. They just happen to have a different number range that they use. Speaking of which, they also did a subset card. Again, sort of. This is their retro set, or turning back the clock cards. The cards are numbered TB, and the cards have a wildly different design. The pinstriping is really cool. The cards are actually black and white for the image, which is interesting because these cards, being finest cards, do have a tendency to wear down over time, and when they distort, the colors are distorted, a color gets brought into it that for the black and white images means there's a little bit of color in the distorted cards. But these cards are again numbered separately like they're an insert set, but they are considered a part of the complete set. Really weird concept. So it is a card set that has veterans, rookies, and a subset, even though the numbers don't really imply that. But they did have some inserts. They had three insert sets or so. Now, Bowman's Best Cuts is the first insert set, and these cards have just a little die cutting down at the corner. They have a design theme that is a great echo of the main set. It's really good how they designed this card to fit in with the regular set, even though the retro cards or the TB cards did not fit in with the regular set. These cards, obviously again with all the parallels. The cards, though, are all veteran cards because they had Bowman's Best Cuts, but they also had Bowman's Best Picks, which was for rookie cards. Obviously, this uses a silver theme as opposed to a gold theme. As you can see, these also come with the parallels. And why they did this as well, I guess they were just continuing the theme of veterans versus rookies, because they're supposed to be like one set, but they are named differently. But so these are both 1 and 2 insert sets. The second true insert set is Bowman's Best Shots. Now this is an acetate card where they use the same technique they'd used in Stadium Club previously, where they have kind of an oil on water like effect that is really, really interesting on this card. But something to note about these cards is the fact that they do actually have the parallels. The refractors are extremely difficult to tell, and then the atomic refractors are easier to tell, but it's really interesting to see how that effect fits into this card where it's so understated. It's really tough to see it in the card, but these parallels, you really got to look on the back to see if it's written refractor or atomic refractor, because otherwise you're going to have a hard time really recognizing whether it's a parallel. But there was one other insert set which was called Honor Roll. And Honor Roll is a card that has 2 fronts. So it has a player on the front, and then it also has another front on the back of the card with another player. The back of the card obviously is where they have the card number, so that's how you can tell the orientation of each card. But each one of these cards looks at 2 players from the same draft. That's why it's called Honor Roll. Obviously the famous Jordan draft had Akeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, Charles Barkley, so they have 2 cards dedicated just to that draft. But the card in this set that I find interesting is the one with Scottie Pippen on one side and David Robinson on the other. And the reason I find it interesting is it's easy to forget that David Robinson was drafted with Scottie Pippen. He may not have started playing basketball until 1990, or 89, I think was when he started. But that's when Scottie Pippen was coming into his own anyway, so they both basically became stars at about the same time. But because of his military responsibility, it's easy to forget just what year he was drafted in. So I find this card to be kind of cool. And yes, these cards do have the parallels as well, and they are on both sides. So they don't play a trick where it's a refractor on one side and not on the other, which means that the parallels are really, the atomic refractors are really impressive. So that was the 96-97 set. Now the set justified the opportunity to make a new set in 1997-98. But and I'll be getting back to that statement in a bit. But the 1997-98 design for the card was approached differently from the construction of the card, where instead of using the finest approach to card making, finest is often referred to as chrome. I mean, Topps Chrome is called Topps Chrome, but it's not really chrome. It's more of a plasticky kind of effect. It's really cool, but it's not really chrome. There are 2 ways that you can make a really well-chromed card. Playoff has one type of chroming where you look at it and you go, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's chrome. The other is what I refer to as mirrored chrome, where it has a metallic-like surface. And it really does have a mirror-like quality to it. And that's what they used for the 97-98 Bowman's Best basketball set. These cards have, it really does look like metal, or it doesn't look like metal, but it looks metallic with, instead of the indented relief on the finest cards, here it's dented outwards. So it's a slight roughness to the card, well, almost a roughness to the card, but it also gives its own cool spectral quality, especially with that big basketball on the side, which you can see all the little bumps in it. It's a really interesting design. I'll leave it to you to determine whether you think it's better or worse, but at least these cards don't wear down the way that finest cards do, so that for sure is a great perk. Now the cards do come with both parallels. So you have the refractor and you have the atomic refractor, and they read exactly the same way that they did on the finest cards. So even though they're using a different technology, they're able to use the same parallel effect in exactly the same way across this entire set. An entire set is a big part of this story because they also have the autograph, or they also have the rookie cards, which have the silver as opposed to the gold, as you would expect. But these cards are numbered into the set, so they are embedded within the rest of the set, which actually leads me to the subset, which is best performances. And the card, it looks like it's a subset card because it does have the basketball, which continues the theme, but the rest of the card really looks wildly different with the radial pattern, with the rainbow in it. It's a weird hybrid of a card where, like the retro cards in the previous year, these cards certainly do work well as an independent set, but they're subset cards worked into the numbers of the set, obviously with the parallels, but also they included a checklist card in the 97-98 set. This is interesting because rarely would a really high-end card set bother with a checklist. Now, Finest was doing that. In basketball in 97-98, they did include checklists in that card set, so they were doing this, but in expensive packs, taking up one card spot for a checklist is usually overlooked. Here they included a checklist, which is pretty cool. Now, you did hear me stumble at one point where I mentioned about autographs, and they did do autographs for this card set. A number of the cards in the set were also printed again to have autographs put onto them. The cards are identical to the cards in the set where they have the same card number. There's nothing different about the card except for the fact that, right as you can see below the Bowman's Best logo, they have a logo printed in there for autographs. That's the way you can tell the official autographs, and they do come with with both parallels. So there's the base one, there's the refractor, and there's the atomic refractor for each one of these autographs. But there is one interesting autograph within all of these, which is a card that is dedicated to League MVP Karl Malone. This is a card that is not integrated into the set and is not available in any way other than in the autograph form, or I should say all three autograph forms. So it's really more of an SP card, but it fits within the autograph set as it were. So this is a very distinct and unique feature of this 97 set. Now they did do 3 or so insert sets as well. The first one being, well, guess what? Bowman's Best Cuts. But this one, they don't have the die cutting on the outside. They actually have it inside. So in that big checkerboard up in the corner, they have certain dots that they've taken out. So it's a very, very understated die cutting design for the cards. Easier to see on the back than it is to see it on the front. It's a very small set, but then as you can imagine, they also have the Bowman's Best Picks, which is the rookie set, which is a card set where they again replace the gold with the silver. So on the front, it can be a little tough to tell the difference between the two sets, but on the back, there is absolutely no missing the difference between the Bowman's Best Cuts cards and the Bowman's Best Picks cards. Now, they also did do another insert set that, well, actually, the other 2 insert sets, now that I think about it, are both named differently. Bowman's Best Techniques is one of the other 2 insert sets, and this is a card that's always thrown me off because it looks like a subset card, mainly because the cards look like the checklist card in the set. But it is interesting to look at this card because it really does not look like an insert set. Front, back, it doesn't have that feeling. The cards do have all 3 parallels, but it's it's one that for me, I always have to remember that yes, that is an insert set. It's not a subset, so do keep that in mind yourself. But with the idea of the honor rolls in their mind, they They used that idea for their Bowman's Best mirror image cards. This is a card where they have 4 players on each card. They're all by position group. As I recall, they're all by position group. 2 players on the front, 2 players on the back. They use a kind of a playing card flip type of an approach for it so that they can fit all 4 of the players on it. Once again, you can tell the card front from back, but because the card back has the number on it. And again, they have all the parallels, and well, again, they have the parallel, the effects of the parallels on the front as well as on the back. And that is the 1997 set, only it's actually not. There's one other thing to mention about it, which is that probably because the 96-97 set wasn't quite taking off the way that they wanted, they again released, or I shouldn't say again, because in the same spirit as we had seen in football and in baseball, they released a preview set in their Stadium Club packs. Now the preview set is identical in design to the cards in the set. The numbers are different, but the design is the same, only there's one very distinct thing that you may be able to recognize about this card, which is that this particular card is built like a finest card. Not with the mirror chrome surface, but with the finest technology. The preview cards that were released with Stadium, those were done in the same design as the previous year, so it's probably a part of the design process that they went through. It's a standalone card set. They do have the parallels, both parallels, but they don't differentiate parallels on the back. So if it's a refractor or an atomic refractor, you have to recognize it on the front. And with the atomic refractors, it's usually easier because you can usually see a few of the boxes. The refractors are a lot harder because the translucent quality of the finest technology looks a lot like a refractor in photos. So you keep that in mind. But they also did a set for rookies, and the rookie set, well, now we're back to the actual 1997-98 card technology. This card set, the rookies, are done the same way as the regular set. So the only finest cards are the veteran preview cards. The rookies obviously also come with parallels, but these are the cards I need to differentiate that it's not just the number on the back, but the image on the front is also different from the cards in the set. Not that you necessarily know because you probably don't memorize those, but so you still want to look at the number on the back, but those 2 sets were also done. And that is 1996-97 and 1997-98 Bowman's Best Basketball. I'm going to look at 98, 99, and 99, 2000. I'm going to look at those in a separate video. So that will be coming up down the road. Definitely look out for that video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I do urge you to do so. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.